Hey guys, this is Alexandra from Buildable Brand. Today we're going to talk about your site's navigation, how to make changes, what things look like, how to move and edit and enable pages, all that good stuff. So let's jump in. Here is my main Squarespace navigation. And the first thing we're going to do is go to Pages. This is where you're going to get a breakdown of every single page that is created for your site. And on the right, you will see your homepage and the actual navigation style of your site. So first, we're going to talk about the pages themselves and then get into how to make some design changes. So over on the left side, you're going to see that all of your pages are grouped into two categories, main navigation and not linked. What's the difference between those two? Simply put, main navigation are all of the pages that show up on your actual navigation bar, where not linked are pages that are still live, but not included in your navigation bar. So the question would be, why would I have pages that no one can actually get to and access? Well, there are two reasons for this. One is if you're trying to really make sure that your navigation bar is as simplified and succinct as possible to really create a good, seamless user experience. The other is if you have pages that don't necessarily need to be on your main navigation. So for example, if you have products with different contact forms, then you may have 4 different form pages for them to fill out that are hidden and only access when they click the specific buttons. So if you look at this template that I have, this is the lifestyle template. You see I have most of the pages in main navigation, such as classes, services, about, and blog. Whereas the not linked pages are the test page for you to play around with, the home page, because I always find it a little redundant to have the home page also in the navigation bar. The consultation page, which is a form that you get from the button in the navigation, and of course the legal pages that you would link at the bottom and in the footer. So that's kind of understanding the difference between a main navigation page and a not linked. Let's talk about organizing the pages that you have either in your main navigation or in the not linked section. So I have an example of 2 things that you can do. One is to create just a regular page which shows up on the main navigation. The other is to create a folder that you can basically have a drop-down menu of all the other pages on the site. So you can see that here. If I go to classes, class overview, class details, and class schedule is all within this drop-down page, which I can view over here in the pages settings bar by clicking this arrow. Now, if you wanted to create a drop-down menu to put pages in, you'd go to the plus, go down to drop-down, name the drop-down, and then drag and drop the pages that you want to go there. So for example, I just created this organization page, I dragged and dropped the events page, and now it's under there. Now, as easy as I just dragged and dropped the events page into this organization folder is how easy it is to also organize all of the other pages on your site. So if I wanted to move the organization all the way down at the bottom, I could, and you can see immediately that the web view updates to show me that change. If I want to move organization down to the not linked, which means it's live, but you just don't see it, I put it down to the not linked and it updated. If I wanted to change and update the order of the pages on my main navigation, I can do the same thing of just clicking and dragging it to the order that I want. Now, if I want to delete a page altogether, that's also pretty easy. So for example, let's delete that organization folder that we created. This works for every page. If I hover over the page I want to make an edit for, I'll see a little trash can over to the left. I click it, it asks me if I want to confirm to make sure I'm not deleting a really important page. I click confirm and bloop, it's gone. So you can do that for any page that you don't need. Now, my personal suggestion, especially if you bought a template from me, is to not actually delete pages. Why? Because you may just need that template page for something later down the line. So what do you do if you have a page that you don't want on your current site, but you don't want to delete? Well, this is what you would do. You would take the page, for example, we're going to do the event page. Say you don't have any events, but you don't want to delete the page because you're going to have an event coming up in, say, 6 months. I will take that page, I move it down into the not linked section, and then I open up the page settings. That's this gear that you see on every single page that I scroll over. If I click this gear, it'll open up the page settings. And I have a video where I talk completely about just all of the settings on the page. So I'm just going to focus on just what we're trying to do here. So I scroll down and I get to this section that says enable page on the generals tab. Enable or disabling the page means that the page cannot be accessed by your site visitors. So even if I had the URL link and I sent it out to someone, the moment I click disable the page, that link will not work and it will send them to the 404 page going, this page has not been found. So that's a way for you to remove a page, especially from your main navigation, off of your main navigation, and then turn it off so that no one can access it. Now you've kept this page for later use and don't have to worry about trying to recreate it. So what if you want to add an entirely new page? That's pretty easy too. You would just scroll over to one of the plus icons on either main navigation or not linked, and it will add a page to that section. So for example, if I want to add a instructors page to the main navigation, I would click the plus. And then I would choose what I want to add. There are a lot of different types of page styles in Squarespace. Again, I'm not going to go deep into that right now. For this, I'm just going to choose a blank page to show you. So I'll click a blank page. I'll name the page, if I know how to spell. And now that page is created. I can go into edit and start making edits to this page. And again, if I decide I actually don't want to have this page be in main navigation yet because I'm still designing it, then I can easily move it down to not linked and disable the page, do everything I need to design it. And then when I'm ready, enable the page and move it right back up into my main navigation. And that's pretty much it in terms of understanding how to move around pages, how to add pages and delete pages. It's pretty straightforward. Now let's talk about editing the navigation bar that people actually see. Let's go to the home page, though you can do this on any page of your site because your navigation in your header is going to be universal. So whatever you do on one page is automatically going to update and follow those same parameters for every other page on your site. So once we're on the page that we want to start on, we go over to edit, and then it opens up our page editor view. And then we scroll over to our header and click Edit Site Header. Now we have a few options. The very first thing we're going to talk about is the Edit Design section. Now, if I click this, it opens up the navigation design settings. Here you can change two things, your design and of course your color. To only focus on the few things you'd want to design if you're not wanting to be advanced and really go into the weeds, the main thing that you could do very easily is update the layout. Squarespace has a few built-in layouts that it will just reformat the sections that you already have created onto the nav bar. So I can change to move where my navigation links are. I can move my logo into the center. I can center everything besides my button. And basically, with one click, I can change the entire feel of my navigation bar. Under here, you can do some settings for spacing. That is the spacing for the navigation links themselves or also the different elements on the page. So for example, I only have one element here, which is the button, and I can choose how close or how far my navigation links are to my button. Then I can also add things like a drop shadow, whether I want it strong or soft. That'll show up at the bottom of the navigation bar. I can also decide if I want a border around my navigation, which I don't, so I'm going to remove it. And I can also decide if I want my navigation to be a fixed position. Currently on the site, if you were to just preview, you would see that as I scroll, the navigation stays up at the top where it was. But if I wanted it to scroll with me, then I would go here, go to Edit Site Header, click Edit Design, and turn on Fixed Position. This will allow the header to stay with me as I scroll through the page. So this is kind of more of a preference if you like that functionality or not, but it's just a click to turn it on and turn it off. The other thing we can fine tune is the height and the width of the navigation bar. I would suggest leaving this alone unless you're feeling really spicy, but it's easy to just start moving to see what it does. So the other thing that you can edit of your navigation style are the colors. When I click over to the color tab at the top, it gives me an option to change the type of background for the header. By default, I have it set up for this template to be solid, meaning that I can come down here to background color and change it to one of the other background colors within my palette. But then, of course, if I changed it, for example, to this dark view, I would need to then change my navigation color to a lighter color for it to be legible. I can also come down here and change the opacity. And if I want to blur the background behind it. Now, this is only really going to show up if I chose a secondary navigation style, such as the gradient, which will show the image behind it. And I can also change the opacity. Now, on the other settings there are gradient, where you can choose your background color that it begins to make a gradient for. Again, it will by default give you the options of the main colors in your palette with the ability to choose custom colors here using RGB or hex. And then the other option is adaptive. Adaptive means that it will use the color theme from the first section on that page. So it basically can change page by page depending on the very first section that I design on that site. So I would say making these types of edits will go into like intermediate and advanced kind of level design work. But if you want to just do something very simple and change the style, I would say stick with solid and then change the background colors and of course the navigation color that would work best. So if we just take a look at that, this is what it would look like if we had a dark and sexy background for our navigation. And you know what? Now that I'm looking at it, I don't hate it. That looks pretty nice. So now let's talk about actually adding and changing the elements that are on the navigation bar outside of the layout and colors. Of course, you have your logo. To change your logo, that's very simple. You would just click this here and replace the logo. I have another video where I go into depth on that section. And then the other part is changing your button. Now remember, I can't drag and drop and move these elements like I could on any other part of the page. If I wanted to change their positioning, I would have to go through that design and change the layout. If I wanted to delete this button altogether, I would just hover over, click delete, remove the button. But say I wanted to add other elements to the navigation that's not there, such as social links. I would click add elements, and these are the elements that I can add. So I can add social links, I can add a cart, I can even add account login if I had members area, and even language switch if I had turned on the multilingual site settings. And again, if none of these relate to you and you don't need them, you can just easily click a button and turn it off. Now, say you want to change something like the actual font of the links in your navigation. Well, that is pretty simple to do, but we can't do it in any of the windows we've touched so far. We could only do that in the site styles under the fonts setting. So we'll click this little paintbrush here to open up our site styles. Scroll down to headings, click this arrow, and then go down to assign styles. I have another video where I go through all of the different things like changing fonts and understanding that, but very simply, in case you haven't seen that, the way Squarespace works is it tries to keep a lot of things consistent. So there are a lot of site styles that are going to be universal throughout the entire site. That includes your fonts and your headings. So if you go to site assign styles, you can make slight changes. You can't change the font from the font that you've chosen for your headlines and your body copy, but you can determine which one shows up for each element. So for example, right now it has your site title and your mobile title as the headings. That's this font right here. Whereas the site navigation is this smaller font that's used for the paragraph copy. If I wanted to change the site navigation font, I can go to paragraph and change the style from paragraph to headings if I wanted to match this font. And then I would go here and have to change which one of the font styles that have already been designated do I want to assign to this area. So if I wanted to do paragraph 1 and make it larger, I can do that. And if I wanted to make it paragraph 3 and make it smaller, I can do that. So now that we know how to add and delete pages and how to design things on the desktop version of our navigation bar, let's talk about mobile view. So to see mobile view, I have to click the mobile icon over here on the top right, and it shows me the mobile view of the site. I go to edit, I hover over the header and click edit site header. And now we get the settings for this specific section. We can edit the design like the layout, just the same way as we can change the layout on the desktop. And if you change any of these elements, it's only reflected on the mobile and doesn't change the layout on desktop. Now, outside of the elements like the layout, if you start changing things like the color and fixed position and border, they will also change on the desktop view. For sites that don't use fixed position on the desktop, I always suggest having it on mobile because it just allows the person to get to the navigation much easier than having to scroll all the way back up as you would on desktop. So you could do that the same way by turning on fixed position. And just like on the desktop view, you can also change the color of the background and the navigation color and also the type of header style. But again, remember, whatever you change in terms of those elements on the mobile view will also change on the desktop view. But say we also don't think the logo is big enough. I can click over the logo, I can press edit, site, title, and logo, and go down to mobile logo height and make the logo larger. And this will only show up on the mobile view because you're editing the mobile height. Another thing you can do here is to view the menu and edit that design. You can change the alignment of the text and the buttons and elements that you have. You can also choose and change your color. So for example, if I liked this darker peach color, I could do that. But that would also mean I need to change the logo to a color that shows up on this peach, keeping in mind that that one logo is also going to be on my main navigation. So you kind of have to think a little bit when it comes to making some of these design changes if you're not going into the advanced level and changing things custom with code. So just as its base, you can just know that anything that you change, you have options, but you have to think about those options in terms of your logo. If you hover over this menu icon here, you could also change what that looks like. You just click this little edit menu and you can change whether you want the button to be a plus, this hamburger menu, the thickness and thinness of the icon itself, and also play around with that here in the scrolling bar. So basically, there are a lot of options, especially if you buy one of my templates, if you want to change something a little or change it a lot, so that it really reflects your brand presence. And hopefully with this video, you'll be able to know exactly what to change and how to change it. If you have any questions, leave us a comment. And if you want to dive deeper into different things like updating your logo and changing colors and font styles, check out the other videos where I dive into those specific topics. Well, all right, guys, have a great day. Hopefully this was helpful. If it was helpful, like and subscribe to get more of our tutorials, tips, and all the other great stuff that we do here at Buildable Brand. Thanks. Bye.